Hi folks, today I just want to talk about handlebar position and lever setup. I'm pretty fortunate. I get to train with some of the best riders in the world. Through the winter time I train with some of North America's top riders, and have trained with the likes of Graham Jarvis. So I get to see a lot of setup and a lot of different ways in which the guys ride their bikes. Some of the top riders not really too worried about the setup, surprisingly. They can just about ride anything. But sure, they have their preferences, and with those preferences, their mechanics generally know what the favourite positions and the favourite bar bends and the favourite position for the handlebars that they like to ride and race with. Now, an interesting thing has happened recently with the last two KTMs that I've bought, the 300 TPIs, is that the handlebars have come and they've been a little bit higher than what I'm used to. And also the bar bend is a little bit different, and it causes you to not be very neutral or very comfortable on the bike. So I've changed the bars out to the Pro Taper Evo Bars, steering damper low. They're pretty much the lowest bar that I can see that Pro Taper make. And what it does is it puts you in a more commanding position on the bike and allows you to have more control directly into the front end of the bike. A lot of the top racers run a very low bend bar, even the tall guys. So it's a little bit of a misconception when people talk about high handlebars and bar rises. As soon as we have someone come to one of our training clinics, I check over the bikes, and if they've got bar risers and we can remove them, we'll remove them, because what happens with bar risers, they bring the handlebar up and they also push the rider back. So push the rider back down into a position where it's more like riding a bike with chopper handlebars or ape hangers, which is just not a good position to be riding in. You want to have a commanding stance on the bike where you've got your arms in a good position to be on the bike and not up high. As soon as you start coming up high, the steering rate changes, the way the bike feels changes. If you were riding the Baja and you were just sitting down and riding flat out, well, then you could have quite high handlebars, and it would definitely be more comfortable down riding the Baja where you're sitting down a lot of the time, full throttle. But for general enduro and riding single track, you're going to want a bar that's not up too high. It has got a nice neutral feel to it. The two bikes that I've got here, this is a 2021 of my partner's bike. It's set up for her, it's lowered. The 2020 over here, which is probably just out of the frame of the camera, that also runs the Evo low bars. The bikes come with these Nikan handlebars. They've got a very odd sweep to them. So what happens is, when you have them on the bike and you adjust them, it's a real fine line between having pressure on the outside of the hand and pressure on the inside of the hand. So if you have them high like this, you're going to get pressure on the outside of the hand, and you could potentially get blisters on the outside of your hands. And if you have them too low, they curve in very rapidly, and you'll end up with blisters on the inside of your hands. So that's a good way to tell. If you're out enduro riding and you're riding a lot, or you're racing, and you're finding that you're getting blisters on your hands, have a look if they're right across the hand. If they're right across the hand, then you're going to probably be in a fairly neutral position. You're just simply holding on too tight. If it's on the outside of your hand, so around this area, means your bars are swept up too much and you've got too much pressure here. And if the bars are down too low, a lot of people do. They seem to have their bars pulled right back. That's a feeling that you sort of get when you ride the Yamahas for some reason. I don't know why, but the Yamaha dirt bikes always seem to have that sort of pulled back sort of feel on the handlebars. Kind of weird. But you would probably end up with blisters on the inside of your hands on the Yamahas because they have got that feel of being swept back, which is more so the geometry of the front end. So I change out the bars to these other bars. They're about 10 millimeters lower and they have a more natural bend on them. Also run them in a fairly neutral position so that, I'll put these down here, so that when I'm standing up, which is 90% of the time, it's got a very neutral feel to it. It's not like you're struggling with the handlebar, it's not back too far, it's not too far forward, it's got a real neutral feel, and it's got a very nice connection to the front end, so you can get a good feel of the terrain and rocks and stuff that you're riding over. Also want to be able to have it so that you can easily just sort of, I like to just lean back and apply a little bit of throttle when I'm coming up to something like a nasty rocky step up. And just being able to sort of lean back and push down with your pegs and pull, not so much pull back, but lean back on the handlebars. Given my weight and my way in which I stand on the bike, it allows the front end to come up really easily. Girls really struggle to get the front end of the bikes up. When I watch other girls riding, watch videos of other girls riding, girls really struggle to get the front wheel off the ground. So it's something they really need to work on. Anything to help them get the front wheel off the ground is going to be a benefit to their riding. I like to run the levers nearly flat with the handlebar. Now the reason you run them flat, you don't run them down here. So the more you run them down here, the more you're going to have stress on your thumb and the metacarpal in through here, which is quite easy to break. And don't get me wrong, I've broken them before. I've broken this one and I've broken this one as well. And it was not from having the levers down low, it was just simply going over the handlebars a few too many times in one day. But this will help prevent it because having your levers nearly level is going to allow the palm of your hand to have all the weight onto the grip, not your thumb. If you've got your levers down, it's probably hard to see with the camera here. If you've got your hands down and you're pulling the levers down here, you're putting all the weight back up into here. Whereas if you have the levers flat, your arms are going to be in a good position, your hands are going to be nice and flat on the grips, and you're going to be able to use the levers. So although it could be uncomfortable for some of the novice riders to run their levers a bit flatter, it's much better to run your levers flat, or more flat, not completely flat. Mine are probably down about 5 to 7 degrees from flat. I also like to run my clutch lever quite a long way in, and I run just an aftermarket lever from China, but it's got a nice squared off feel on the front of it. That squared off feel just gives a nice sort of pull feel just right on the tips of your fingers. I've got it set up so I can use it one finger most of the time, and if I start to get a bit tired, I can then clutch with both fingers. And then that way it gives me room to put the stop switch in here. I run it upright, so if you're going up real steep hills and that, you're not hitting the stop button, which can happen. And I tuck the starter button in under I've got to tighten it up actually, I'll just put these handlebars on the girlfriend's bike. But I run the stop button right under here, just sort of protected protected by the throttle, because the throttle's sort of fairly strong and you don't want to have the stop button ripped apart, especially on these bikes that don't have a kickstart. You can run yourself into trouble. So yeah, bar set up. This one's set up with the lower part of the clamp here in its back position, not forwards. Whereas on that bike, it's set up in the forward position because I'm taller and bigger, and I like to be quite roomy on the bike. So that's something to consider if you're a shorter rider. You're around 5'4", 5'5". You're going to probably want to have your bars set on the backmost position. The XCs only have one hole in the triple clamp. The XCWs have 3 holes. So you've got 3 different positions, plus you can turn the underside around to give you a forward or back stance. So you have a little bit more adjustment on the XCW than you do on the XC, but I like to run the XCs because they come with a better suspension, the air forks, and a close ratio gearbox. We also like to run the flag handguards. There's a good reason for that, and there's a good reason all the pros run the flag handguards. Running the wraparounds is really quite dangerous. I've seen too many people break their hands where they've crashed and their hands have gone forward and it's broken their hands or their fingers across here. It's really quite a big problem. If you're worried about breaking levers all the time, just go and get some aftermarket levers. I think I paid $4 or $5 for these levers out of China. On the clutch, I actually grind a bit of the ball off the end here so it pulls nicely past my fingers. If I'm tight, I like to pull the clutch right in rather than part way out. It's a little bit easier. But yeah, as much as these don't offer the protection as a wraparound and save your grips or save your levers, just get levers that don't break so much. I've never broken a lever on the clutch using these Chinese aftermarket ones. They fold back if there's damage, and hey, they're so cheap anyway. Occasionally on the brake lever, once about 4 years ago I broke the tip off a brake lever, but it's no big deal. So yeah, look, wraparound handguards have their place. Good for novice riders if they want to protect the bike. Also protect their hands a little bit, because novice riders tend to slide around on the grips a little bit and could possibly get caught between the end of the grip and the ground. But I've found going to the flag style ones they're a lot safer. So yeah, that's how I go with the handlebar setup. If you've got any questions, just post them up. We run heated grips. It's pretty cold here in Canada. These work really well. These are the Tusk ones. I've got another video about those. Yeah, any questions, just let us know, and we'll do some more videos. I'll do a video shortly about suspension, so keep an eye out for that one.